Once those components are in place, if we have to do lifting operations, we're then going to again try to utilize the natural resting position of the vehicle. We're typically going to try to avoid using the roof line as a fulcrum, treating the vehicle like a seesaw. So we want to stabilize one portion with friction points utilizing inverted step chocks or wedges. That'll be a pivot point, or that third point of contact to ground, and then utilizing struts, airbags, dunnage with cribbing, and wedges for wedge lifts, or lever applications in two other points towards the rear of the vehicle to perform a lifting operation. You want to try to avoid doing full vehicle lifts, not just because you're assuming more load, but because you're making more work for yourself. So typically vehicles are always going to come to rest with one pivot point and one lift point. Hopefully, or ideally, that lift point is going to accommodate what you're trying to lift. Does that make sense? If we've got a victim up here at the nose, then obviously the way this is naturally laying isn't going to work. We're going to have to kind of reverse that sequence. Make sense to everybody? But ideally, you've got one natural pivot point, one lift point. Use the vehicle in a smart fashion to accommodate lifting in a smart way. The question arose earlier, why couldn't we use the midpoint of the vehicle or the roof line as a fulcrum and just apply downward leverage on the back end of the truck or frontwards leverage on the front of the truck? Why would we have to stabilize the back end if we were going to lift the front end? Does that make sense? Their question was, why couldn't we just lift on the front end and let this roof line be a fulcrum? If you have an impingement here, in all reality, or the most realistic application of it is that your victims are probably going to be pinched or compressed under this roof line in some capacity. So utilizing that as a fulcrum is going to cause them more damage. That's probably where you're trying to buy space. So even going to the rear of the vehicle and doing your lift back there is going to lift that roof line.